What do you think about these traditional education systems, Richard?
Needs work. That's my initial response. That we tell kids what to do, but we typically don't tell them how it's done, right? We show them on paper long equations in math, but we don't teach them that math is primarily done unconsciously. And that if I took a lot of learning disabled kids, you give a kid who's not spelling well a good spelling strategy, then they start spelling better. And we don't spend enough time finding out, in America, I don't know what they do here, but in America, we keep watering down education and teaching nonsense. Somebody told me about a school recently where they're taking kids 3 to 5, and they're teaching them reading, writing, spelling, and math, and that's it. And he said to me, they're doing this because they figure when they get in regular schools, they'll learn all that other stuff like history and stuff. Once you teach a kid to read well and to be enthusiastic about it, then all you got to do is give them books. Mm-hmm. At one time, I tried to open a school, but I was actually prevented from doing it because I got all of these geniuses, Buckminster Fuller, all of these great people, the lead violinist in an orchestra was going to come and teach music, all for a year so that we could videotape what good teaching was. And the school system of the state said no. I had somebody give me a school, residential school, to use free. They had one. They had a spare one sitting on their ranch. And they said, you can have the school. And we had it all set up, and I went to the state, and they said, no, they have to go get teaching credentials. They have to learn. And I went and found out what they studied in this. And in those days, they spent 6 months learning to use the overhead projector and how to make lesson plans. But they're not installing in kids, they're measuring kids. They go memorize these words, but they don't tell you how it's done. They don't teach you to have a good memory. They don't teach you, one of the greatest guys that can remember bloody everything teaches people to build a memory castle in their head. So they have separate rooms for different information, and everything's written real big, and when you walk in this room, all this stuff is there. And I took kids that couldn't multiply, and the teacher told them they're having trouble adding and multiplying. And they're in the 5th grade, but they're only at the 1st grade level. And I don't know who made these grade levels up, but they're quite arbitrary. And, they're really more designed to keep the teachers separate than the students. And then they go, this kid's gifted, so we'll put him in this class. This kid's having trouble, so we'll put them all together so they have no one to learn from. Mm-hmm. A lot of that to me is just nonsense. What we should be doing is thinking not that there are learning disabilities, only teaching disabilities. Mm-hmm. If somebody in my class isn't doing well, that's my fault. I don't go, they're a fucking idiot. I go, what am I not doing that I should be doing with this person? I'll pluck them out and single them out and raise them to the level. And if I do a good job of it, I should be able to put them ahead of other people because I know how this works. Now, when I took kids, and I for example, kids that had trouble adding, I gave them a chart, and it went 1 to 100, and it went 1 to 100. And it had, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, all the way down to 100. And I had 5 kids who couldn't multiply, just sit there. They could look at it on the paper, go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, see who could get to the bottom of the things. All right, do 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. And as fast as they could. And then I'd go back and forth, do this one. We sat and did this for an hour. And then I said, what's 7 times 7? And they'd go 49. Because it got stuck in their brain. They do it enough times, their unconscious picks it up. They went back and took their math class, and they all got good scores. They spelled, right? This is only a week later. And the teacher came in and looked at it, and she goes, I don't know what you're doing with these kids, but I know it must have something to do with the devil, and gave me a copy of the New Testament. And I thought, gee, if somebody helped my kid in my class when they were having trouble, I'd want to know what they did. I come in and say, how did you get this person to be able to spell better? That would be curiosity. And we may not be selecting the right people, or we may not be training them to be curious enough that they look at a kid having trouble and going, what would it take to make this kid the best at this. And then going out and finding the person in the real world who actually could do it. When I wanted a spelling strategy, I went and found a little girl that won a spelling bee. She spelled better than everybody in California, right? And then, you know, if you want somebody to learn baseball from, you know, you don't go to your butcher, you go to the world's best baseball player and break down every task they do into pieces and put the strategies in so when kids are learning baseball, they can learn it better.
Thank you so much, Richard. Well, this is David Badilla for Human Excellence, and it's so nice to have Dr. Richard Bandler here in Costa Rica, and thank you so much, Dr. Richard Bandler.
You're more than welcome. It's a pleasure to be here. Good fruit.